some vegan mushroom and veggie stuffing, and I'm going to be using some celery. I just have one really large stalk here. I'm going to see if that's enough. If not, I will add another one. Don't worry about the recipe. I will add it into the description box. And I'm just going to cut up 2 large carrots, and then I have a bunch of mushrooms. Okay guys, sorry about the noise, but the dishwasher is on, so that's why it's noisy. Okay, I have 5 cloves of garlic. So I'm going to use my large Dutch oven for this recipe. I'm going to throw everything in here. It's big enough that I can mix everything really well, so I feel like this will work the best for me. I'm going to saute those veggies first, and I will be adding in some veggie broth, and then also some cranberries and whole grain bread, and also sourdough bread will be used in the recipe, but I will show you guys everything in a moment. So I have about 3 or 4 tablespoons of water, and then I'm just going to show you, I always keep some water on hand so that when I need it to saute my stuff, I do have extra water always right beside me. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to throw in my garlic, and I'm going to chop up some onion and use that. Okay, I'm adding half of a cup of very finely minced onion. And I'm just going to water saute that, and then I'm going to add the garlic in, and then I will go ahead and add the seasonings. I'm going to use dry oregano. I'm going to use some black pepper. I will be adding a little bit of salt. I'm going to use Himalayan salt and some paprika. So those are pretty much my staple go-to spices, but you can add whatever you prefer in yours. Okay, so now all the garlic is going to go in. Doesn't look like much because this pot is really gigantic, so it does not look like there's very much in here, but if you have a smaller pot, you'll see that there is quite a bit. Half of a cup of onion is all I can tolerate because I'm not really an onion fan. If you wanted to, you can go ahead and use the whole onion, but I cut up enough to fill half of a cup. It was a pretty large onion, and that's good enough for me, but if you do like it with more onion, go ahead and add a whole onion. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add my dry oregano. I have about a tablespoon. And it's fresh from my garden, so I just kind of rub it between my hands just to break it down a little, adding that in. I think I'm going to add 1 more tablespoon because I do like a lot of oregano. And we already have the garlic in here with those antibacterial properties and antifungal properties, but we also really like the oregano for those same benefits. Adding a little bit more water just so that everything can cook down really nicely and not burn. You do want to mix it quite often just to make sure that nothing is burning and everything is just softening up nicely. These Dutch ovens you really have to be careful with because they will burn things. You do have to keep an eye. It gets really, really hot. Here's my other tablespoon of oregano going in. You do not have to add as much as me. We love oregano in this house. My kids love oregano. We use it all the time. That's why we grow it fresh in the garden so we can use it all winter. But if you're not an oregano fan, use whatever herb you actually like and what you want to customize your stuffing with. There is no right or wrong. You don't have to follow a recipe completely. You can add whatever is A, available to you, and B, what you prefer. I'm going to go ahead and add some Himalayan salt as well. Just a little. People can add more salt later if they want, and some smoky paprika. Go ahead and cut my celery and my carrots and add that in as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my celery. And I have it pretty finely chopped. You don't have to finely chop it as much as me, but I prefer it like this. Just going to give that a mix and then go ahead and cut my carrots and throw those in. And I lowered the heat. I'm going to add a little bit more water in a moment. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add my carrots, again finely chopped. I'm going to finish cutting those up and then add everything in. Okay, so I cut up one more celery stalk because I felt like I needed one more. Now we should be good. I added a little bit more water. I'm going to add some black pepper to this as well. So we're going to start chopping up these cremini mushrooms and then finish off with using these mini Bella mushrooms, and I'm going to toss those in and cook them up as well. So I'm just going to close this up. I already added some more water and I'm just going to allow it to cook up for a couple minutes before I toss in my mushrooms, and then I will just mix those in and probably leave the lid off. Just don't want to overcook my mushrooms though. So I just have this pumpkin pie spice coffee by Green Mountain. Gonna just enjoy that right now while I cook my Thanksgiving dinner. I'm making some lentil shepherd's pie. I'm also going to be doing that. And then my vegan stuffing is in the works. And then there'll be other things that my mom will have there as well, like roasted potatoes and lots of veg. So it should be a really delicious Thanksgiving. So I have 6 cups of chopped cremini mushrooms and those Bella ones, and I mean they look like cremini mushrooms, but they're saying mini Bellas, so are they mini portobellas? I don't know. But that's what I could find, so that's what we're using, and yeah, so that is all the mushroom that I'm going to be adding in. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add some of my bouillon, my vegan bouillon. There is a little bit of oil in it, but I am watering it down considerably, and I didn't use any bouillon early on in all the sauté business that I have done, so I feel okay about using that. Plus, again, it's very low in oil, but it's hard to find completely oil-free bouillon or broth, so I am going to be using it. I'll show you which one I am using, and I'm going to water it down because I do find that it's a little too strong, to be honest. So watering it down helps. Okay, I just reread these ingredients, and I swear there was a little bit of oil in this before, better than bouillon, but I don't see the oil now. Like, did they take it out? I don't know. So they have the mirepoix in there, the carrot, celery, and onion. They have sugar in there, tomato paste, yeast extract, carrot juice concentrate, cornstarch, celery juice concentrate, garlic powder, onion juice concentrate, natural flavors, Is that where the oil comes in? Natural flavors? Kind of sketchy. I don't know. And it's spices, and it just says organic. I don't know. I thought that there was a little bit of oil in this. Let me know if yours does, or did they change it? Because yeah, this is what I'm going to be using. I am still going to water it down because it is quite concentrated. So I'm going to add, I don't know, maybe, I want to be generous because other people are eating it. I would only add a teaspoon if it was me, and I would add water to it. But because other people are having it and I want it to be quite flavorful, I am going to say a tablespoon that I'll add in. But if it was just for me, a teaspoon is more than enough. Okay, so I added in the tablespoon. I'm going to add some water and just mix that down. Sometimes sorry about the background noise. I have dishwashers, children in the background, you know. So sometimes I'll just put the teaspoon or tablespoon in some warm water and just dissolve it and pour it into whatever I'm making. But today I just decided to throw it in because I'm adding water anyway, and then just mix it and let this all cook down a little bit with the lid on for a few minutes. So for those of you that are not familiar with it, this is what it looks like. It's like a quite thick of a paste. And then, like I said, I just water it down quite considerably. And so this large jar will last me a really, really long time. Okay, so I had about 300 to 400 milliliters of water on the side, and I just kept adding it in as I needed it. When things got too dry in my Dutch oven, I would add it in. And then now I added some more in just so my mushrooms can cook up and everything can get nice and flavorful. And then I'm going to start chopping up my crusty bread for my stuffing. But this is what it ended up to look like. All my veg just cooking away in my Dutch oven. It smells so good in here. It is so delicious. So I also went to the backyard, and I still have an abundance of kale growing, so I decided to add kale to my stuffing. I think it's a nice addition, and it provides a lot of nutrition, and of course adding those yummy greens as well. So yeah, and look at the color as well that it brings out. So I really am happy that I added the kale, and I grabbed 3 really large leaves and I just tore them up and threw them in and cooked them down. So I just cut up my bread, and this is the at least a day old bread you want, but you know, try to get as stale as possible basically. Or if you do have only fresh bread, you could really toast it up so that it is kind of tougher texture. So I didn't even bother to toast up my bread because it was pretty nice and stale. So I decided to just throw it in like that, and it worked out perfectly. But if you wanted to, you can go ahead and toast your bread. So I bought many different types of bread, even a sourdough, but the bread that I think would work better is what I used. It was like a multigrain bread and then also a French baguette. So I put mostly multigrain and a little bit of the French baguette. And then these are the cranberries that I found, and they were absolutely delicious. The best cranberries I have ever bought. I'm so glad I bought these ones. They were, although they're dry, they still have a little bit of juice in them, and it was just perfect. And I like adding a little bit of balsamic vinegar, so I'm just going to throw in 3 tablespoons of that into my mixture. I just really like the flavor that it gives the stuffing, and I'm going to throw in those cranberries as well because they're going to add a lot of nice color. So I put in 1/3 of a cup, but you can even go up to 1/2 a cup. It depends on how bright you want your dish to look because it does add some nice color and of course some sweetness to the dish. So I added 7 cups of this cubed up bread, and my cubes are not super tiny. I don't like them super tiny. I just find it gets a little too mushy for my liking, but if you wanted to, you can even cut them really small. It really depends on what you prefer. And I put mostly a hearty multigrain bread, and again I added the French baguette as well, but it was 7 cups in total. And then I'm throwing in 2 cups of veggie broth. So I'm basically using that bouillon that I showed you earlier, and I just put a little bit in water and I dilute it until I have my 2 cups. I don't like it very strong. Again, it depends on preference. If you wanted to use a bouillon cube, you could do that. If you want to get the cartons of just the regular ready to go veggie broth, you can do that as well, and just add that in for the flavor. So after I mix it all through, I throw it into a casserole dish because it will be going into the oven. I preheated my oven at 350, and this is going to go in for 25 minutes, maybe even 30 minutes. It depends on how strong your oven is, until it gets nice and crispy and delicious. Okay, so this is how it turned out when I took it out of the oven. The top is kind of crispy. That's perfect. I did reheat it and crisp up the top a little bit more when I got to my mom's house, because once, you know, even though I cooled it off slightly and put the lid on, it did get a little bit soft. So I decided to preheat my mom's oven and put it in for a few minutes just to re-crisp everything before everyone ate it. So I found the stuffing to be absolutely delicious. I love how I was able to use all healthy and easy to find ingredients. So if you have leftover bread and you don't know what to do with it, this is a perfect dish to make, even if it's not Thanksgiving, for any time of year. So this is my veggie lentil shepherd's pie that I'm bringing as well to my Thanksgiving dinner. It is massive. This thing weighed a ton, but this is what everyone really likes, so I make it, and everyone enjoys it, even the meat eaters. So yeah, I made my stuffing on the side, and then I made a lovely mushroom gravy for my shepherd's pie. I even put some on the stuffing, and it was so good. I will be posting that recipe because it was probably the best gravy I've ever made, to be honest. So yeah, that is pretty much it for my Thanksgiving dinner. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like this stuffing. I hope you try it. Let me know if you do. Thanks again for watching and all the support on the channel. Take care and happy Thanksgiving to my Canadian friends.